Hello and welcome to the Antlers and Anglers show held at the Conneaut Lake or at the Crawford County Fairground this year. My name is Terry Ferrell and today we're going to talk about fly tying, and there's going to be several little things that we're going to talk about. One is the type of flies that we use and how to use them, and then we're going to talk about how we tie them. But before we get into that, I want to talk about fly tying equipment. There's two false fallacies about fly tying. One is it's very expensive to do, which is not true at all. And the other one, you really got to be good at it, and that's not true at all also. First of all, there are several different types of fly vices that you can purchase. One is what they call a rear clamp vise. It looks like this. It clamps onto your table. It's very inexpensive. It costs about $15. Then they have what they call a cam operated fly vise, which is controlled by a squeeze lever up here. It's a little better vise. It also clamps onto your table. Now I prefer what they call the weighted base. This is the weighted base. You can pick it up and you can move it anywhere you want to when you tie. And it doesn't have to be clamped to a table. Now once you have your vise, you need a few other things. One is you need what they call a bobbin to hold your thread. You need a bobbin threader, which will allow you to thread the thread through the bobbin. And then you should have some type of tweezers, a scissors, and one of the most important tools I use is I have a channel lock, little champ pliers that I use to crimp the barbs down and also do some bending work if that needs to be done. All right, then you also should have, and there are several good books out. I use the Fly Tyer's Bible. The nice thing about this Bible, it tells you the classification of the fly, tells you how difficult it is, and it gives you step-by-step instructions on how to tie each fly. Now, there are several different types of flies. There is what they call a nymph. A nymph is something that sinks to the bottom and floats in the bottom, and the fish pick it up. It's supposed to imitate an insect. Then there's what they call a wet fly. A wet fly is made basically similar to a nymph. It sinks to the bottom and is tied with materials which absorb the water, so it allows it to sink. Then there's a dry fly. A dry fly floats on the top of the surface, and it's imitates a fly that's ready to hatch and fly away. And then you have a streamer. A streamer imitates a bait fish. And then you have what they call poppers. This is the popper right here. This is the frog, and it floats on top of the water. And it's great for bass, smallmouth, largemouth bass. Okay, so now you have a basic introduction to fly tying. Now the first fly that we're going to tie, and this has been around for many years, and there's several articles written about it, but it's called the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup fly, and it really works. Let me tell you, I've tried it and it works. It's made from a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. If you open this peanut butter cup up real gently, take the paper off, and without tearing it, you flatten it out like this. And then what you do is you take your scissors and you actually cut up the middle, and you cut a strip about a ½ inch wide. Make sure you go through the multicolored layers. See, we got the gold, we got the orange, we got the brown. Then you take this and you actually fold it in half. And you fold it one more time, make like a little ribbon out of it. Now you got the material ready to make the body of the fly. Now, I usually tie this on a size 16 fly. This is a 16, and I'm going to use yellow thread. And the first thing you do when you start any fly is you actually wrap the body of the shank of the hook. And then this is called the tag end. You cut that off. You continue to wrap the whole body. And you do that for one main purpose, so that the material that you tie on there doesn't rotate and spin on you. Now once you have that covered, then I take this material I'm going to pinch the end, and I'm going to start tying it on at the head, or where the eye of the fly will be. Now once I get it started, and I'm going to take it, and it's very careful. You can very easily tear this material, so you want to treat it real careful. You want to wrap it around. You see how I'm tapering it. As you get back towards the curve of the hook, it gets a little fatter. So then we're going to cut it off. We're going to take the thread and wrap it all the way around again. Then come back to the eye. And then you can either use a whip finish knot, or you can just use a hand-tied knot. Now at this point in time, some people use head cement and put it on the top, but if you tie your knot right, you shouldn't need head cement. You cut it off, and that's the fly right there. And that small hook caught that fish. That was 2 years ago on this fly. That's my son-in-law. Okay? So that's what you call the Reese's peanut butter fly. Okay? Now, some of the other fly fishermen, or some of the other people that use spin rods, use what they call jig heads. These are jig heads. They're cast. It's a lead head, and then we actually paint it. And I'm going to show you how to tie one of those. Now, right now, for this year, the hottest two colors out are the dark red, or what they call the blood red with the shiny specks on, and the brighter red with the specks on. We're going to tie this one first. Now here again, I'm going to use red thread, and I'm going to wrap this portion of the jig. I'm going to come all the way back to the hook, cut off the tail or the tag end, and we're going to move the thread all the way back to the curve of the hook. And like I said, this doesn't have to be real neat. The main thing is it provides a surface for the material to stick to, so it doesn't rotate on that smooth hook. Now, for this, we're going to tie bucktail on first. And on this one, we're going to use a yellow piece of bucktail. And I'm going to tie this on the shank of the hook. And see, you can actually tear your thread like I did. I'm going to cut the tag end off. Now at this point of the game, some people use head cement. You can use head cement, or you can use crazy glue. I'm just going to put a drop right there just to secure it. Then we're going to use some marabou. I'm going to tie the marabou up a little bit higher, actually on the lead portion of the jig. And then you put what they call a collar. We're going to use a piece of red and the collar, we wrap it all the way to the back where the red marabou starts, and then bring it back forward to the head. And here again, we're going to tie it off right behind the ball of the head. Just like that. We'll cut it off. And there you go. So you have a red collar with a little yellow ring right above it. Along that matches the yellow tail with the red marabou. Now, if anybody has any questions while we're doing this, don't be afraid to speak up. Go ahead, question? You have a question?
Yes, I do. Okay. Where do you get your materials? Because anytime that I have to get my materials, I get them from my uncle in Virginia.
What? My wife and I own and operate a fly shop in Meadville. You can come down there. We'll be glad to help you out there. A lot of the materials I buy, you can go to a craft shop and get some of this. You can buy some of this at Pat Catan's, which is down in Greenville. You can buy this at Joann's, which is here in Meadville. Pat Catan's is down in Greenville, I guess. If you got relatives that hunt, that's it, and get deer, there's a deer tail for you. Okay, these are dyed deer tails. You can get those. You can dye them. Your threads, you can use regular sewing thread, but I prefer you use regular fly tying thread. It's a lot stronger and a lot thinner. This goes down, this is a size 8, which is really thin. For just starting out, I would suggest you use something like a nylon thread. It's the thread that I have is real tough. The nylon thread, it takes a good beating, and it does a very good job for you. Okay?
Yeah, I'm not exactly. I've been tying since I was 10.
Okay.
When my uncle taught me, but I don't do much of it. So.
Okay. Well, some Saturday, stop down and we'll tie some flies together. Okay. Okay. Now, one of the other flies that we want to talk about is this is done on a number 4 hook, and it's actually called a Lake Erie shiner. It actually is supposed to imitate a minnow. We're going to start out with a yellow thread again. And once I get it started, I cut off the tag end. And here we go, we're going to wrap the thread of the hook, or the shank of the hook, with thread. Now the purpose of that is so that the material doesn't rotate on you. And we're going to go around a couple times. Now, once we get that done, what we're going to do is we're going to put some. I'm going to use some white bucktail. And fly tying is not an exact science, just like baking chocolate cookies. Everyone has their own special recipes that they use, so the main thing is if you got a recipe that works, stick with it. And what we're going to do, since this is supposed to imitate a minnow, and a minnow always has, right behind its gills, if you look into its gills, it's a little red spotch. So we're going to tie that on right up front. Just like that. We don't want it having too long, so what we're going to do is trim it off. Now what we're going to do is give it some fluff. I'm actually tying this on behind the red item that we put on there. I'm going to move my thread back to the eye, and I'm going to tie a little bit of marabou yet. What I'm doing now is building up the head on this fly. And I'm going to tie it off. And there you go. That's called a Lake Erie shiner. And I've caught many a steelhead fish with this particular fly. Okay? Anybody have any questions? Y'all ready to tie flies? Well, I want to thank you for coming today. I enjoyed it. If you want to stop over to my stand over there, I'll be glad to talk to you about various flies that I've tied. And like I said, I've been tying since 1963. That makes it an even 50 years this year. And I've probably tied close to 500,000 flies. I've got my flies. I've been fished all over the United States, Canada, South America, and even Australia. So thank you for coming today. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, like I said, stop over and see me. I'd be glad to answer them. All righty. Thank you, and have a great day here. Thank you.